Well, thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you to all the witnesses and everyone for being here. This is quite an incredible experience to be at the Iowa State Fair. And I'm from upstate New York, and we have, my district, the newly conceived 24th District, is actually the largest agricultural district in the Northeast, including the largest dairy district. So it's very different than New York City, where my colleague Nicole Malliotakis lives. But Zach Nunn said, so you're basically the Iowa of New York. So yeah, in a way we are. We have an incredible output with ag, and it's really important in our district. But I'm also a small business owner, so I know what it's like to struggle to make payroll, to deal with taxes, and just all those things. And I also want to just, I think I'm just incredible that you are all here with such a different perspective. Every one of you has a small business perspective, a large business perspective, the child care perspective, but you're all talking about the one thing that changed upstate New York, and we come from the highest tax state, is the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act. It was incredible. I voted for it, and it was always a stunning, oh my gosh, I can't believe you're voting for that from New York. Most of the businesses, as Ms. Pohl said, in our communities are driven by small business owners, including our farmers. And so we are just grateful to all of you for putting it in your words exactly what the catastrophic results could be if we don't continue with these issues. But I wanted to just first start with Ms. Pohl, and you're an NFIB member, as we are. My business is over 40 years as NFIB. They put out great data and great statistics and advocate well for our small business community because we don't have some of the larger issues. But you talked about 199A if it should expire. Could you tell me just briefly what the operational changes you would have to make in the business if that were to happen?
Well, currently, I think what we would do is stop investing. You know, we wouldn't be able to expense out the equipment. You know, we wouldn't have the extra money to reinvest into our employees and anything else that we wanted to pursue.
Well, when you stop investing, you're coasting, and that means you're going downhill. That means you're not preparing for the future. So one of the other things, thank you, and I just want to move a little bit to something a couple of you touched on, especially Mr. Sukup. You talked about this as well as Ms. DeWald. I raised my son as a single parent, but I also took care of my parents who were across the street with serious health conditions, and so I'm part of that sandwich generation. And it was always a struggle to find daycare, and for parents, both men and women. It depends on who stays home, but now it's a mixed opportunity. We talked about like some of the things that we've worked on. I worked on a bill called the PACE Act, and that's promoting affordable child care for everyone and giving employers the opportunity to invest. And I just could touch briefly on that if it would help you to get an additional tax credit or benefit to help with child care facilities right on your properties, and maybe you could touch on that as well, Mrs. Wall or Ms. Wall. Yeah.
Well, right now we're in the process. We're hoping to open October 1st, but 112 space child care facility right across the street from our company. Right now, it looks like about 40 of our employees will take advantage of that, and it's just critical to working families. You know, some of the families both are working, whether for us or down the road at Mason City or another community business. But and when if there's families that have two of them in child care, it's just astronomical. And then again, that sort of ties into the estate tax. I don't see that I would have really said yes, let's go do it. But the third generation, daughter Emily, comes to Sheffield every day, and she goes, this is important to families. Let's do it.
Yeah, I would have loved to have that child care option at my office. I had to take that risk of leaving my son somewhere not knowing what he was going to be. He always survived somehow when I got back, but I know the fear of families. They want to stick together, especially these days. But I know, Mr. Walt, you mentioned something on this same as the child care, but would an increase in a little bit more of a benefit for child care deductibility and also maybe dependent care deductibility for people like me and others who have a dependent child or family member, maybe a parent that they have to take care of, is that something that if we increase that benefit, would that be beneficial to your employees?
Thank you for the question, and certainly it most likely would benefit our associates. Benefits that support working families are very important to us. I mentioned, the 400,000 associates we have. Most of those are frontline in our stores, in our distribution centers. So certainly policies that support working families would benefit our associate population.
Thank you. Well, I appreciate that. It's really incredible that you're all talking. These are really important issues. And I just want to say one shout out to one of the counties. I just went to the Wyoming County Fair in upstate New York. the county legislature, or the county supervisors do a wonderful thing. They actually hold a meeting, their August meeting at their county fair, and it's filled with all kinds of people out there to see their government in action. So shout out to Becky Ryan, the supervisor, and thank you, Chairman Smith, for doing this out in Iowa. We appreciate it. Thanks. Yield back.
Thank you. Ms. Malitok is the other lady from New York.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We've traveled many parts of the country hearing from people like you, and